Welcome back to Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Tom White, joined by my co-host today, and that's going to be JJ Keenahan. But let's take a look at the four major indices as they are all down significantly today as we start this holiday-shortened week. The Russell 2000 leading the way to the downside, now down 2.2%. NASDAQ 100 losing a little bit of ground since we started the show, down nearly 2%. And the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average both down about 1.7%. On the session. But let's bring in our next guest now, and that's going to be Andy Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com. Thanks for joining us today, Andy.
Yes, great to be here.
All right, we're talking Domino's Pizza here today. The stock's down pretty significantly. It hit all-time highs at the end of last year, but it's down about 17% so far this month. It's still up about 25% from year-ago levels, that all-time high above 567. What are you guys seeing as far as data goes and sentiment on Domino's Pizza as we slide this year?
Yeah, big slide. You know, Domino's one of the greatest corporate turnaround stories I think in the history of the world, and one that everybody that's an entrepreneur or business person should probably study. But yeah, they're getting hurt a little bit this year. You know, they are the most dominant of the three major players in terms of publicly traded pizza companies. You got Domino's, you got Pizza Hut, which is owned by Yum Brands, and Papa John's, which is his own publicly traded company. But you know what we're really seeing is a big shift in terms of consumer, in terms of the consumer happiness levels or consumer preferences. It used to be Domino's for the last several years has been right on top, you know, of this chart. Historically, and now to see Pizza Hut really jump the other two and create kind of a commanding lead in terms of consumer happiness. We think about this as, you know, the happiness with delivery times, prices, accuracy of order, and the quality of the food. And we really see that when we take a qualitative look at this data. Pizza Hut's really actually pulled ahead, and it's interesting the timing that this has occurred. They apparently Pizza Hut has really benefited from the football season. We see a strong correlation with Pizza Hut's uptick in, you know, overall mentions, consumer enthusiasm, consumer happiness throughout the NFL season. So that's really interesting to note. But I think the big story here for me is, you know, just that you know, Domino's kind of falling off in terms of being the crowd favorite. They've really fallen off. And, you know, the other part of this that's hurting Domino's in a big way is not just, you know, consumers preferring their pizza less, but also food costs are through the roof. I think the CEO came out and said 10% cost increase this year on a year-over-year basis. That's 3 or 4 times normal levels of inflation. We saw Little Caesars had to raise the price of their pizza for the first time. Their $5 hot and ready went to $5.55. First move they've had to make in the history of the company on that product. And so you can see the squeeze that's happening on these companies. And I think Domino's is probably one that's in a little bit the worst position because it's had such a great run in the stock. And now we see kind of that double slice of disaster in increasing food costs and decreasing consumer happiness. Not a great spot to be.
Hey, Andy, like Domino's, you deliver with the info every time. Good to see you, buddy. But, you know, I guess my question is exactly where you're going with the football playoffs and the Super Bowl coming up. Is there do you see a cyclical nature to this, or do you see actually this an opportunity for Pizza Hut to maybe even increase their strides over Domino's? Because I assume that the price increases are going to have to hit them all somewhat equally, or do you know, as you said, do you think Domino's is going to take the brunt of that as compared to their competitors?
Yeah, I think they'll take the brunt of it because they're the market leader right now, and a lot of times, you know, that's who gets in the crosshairs. And I do think that there's an opportunity for Pizza Hut going into the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is absolutely, I think it might be the #1 day for pizza ordering nationwide. Year-round, every year. And I think, you know, when we see something like, you know, a flip or a big surge in consumer happiness like we've seen towards Pizza Hut, specifically pizza products, that can be and often is a leading indicator of of market share shifts. And right now you've got Domino's in the #1 spot, but something like an event like the Super Bowl, the timing could not be better for Pizza Hut to be hitting on all cylinders with consumers as we head into that big pizza weekend.
Yeah, and Andy, if you look at that, with the data that you guys have, I think it's 80% of the orders that Domino does is through their app, right? That their technology has been the game changer in this industry. As far as the data that you guys are seeing and why Pizza Hut's jumping so far ahead, are they actually moving back into this space and using the data that Domino's has basically dominated in this space?
Yeah, I think they're definitely catching up on the technology side of things, and you're right. That's one of the reasons people liked Domino's so much. It really, they had a good, consistent pizza that you could get. It's not like you guys have with Lou Malnati's and all the great pizza you have in Chicago, but in terms of, plugging something into an app and getting it at your door 20 minutes later, pretty good product and a good ordering experience via technology. And I do think that competitors are starting to catch up on that. They saw the success that Domino's had, and that's what it's like to be, in the king's throne. The swords start coming after you immediately as soon as you get there. And so Domino's now on the other side of things, they're not the comeback kid anymore. They're the leader, and with that comes defending your turf. And so far, it seems to be that Domino's struggling a little bit to do so.
Well, one thing I want to add, Andy, is I saw this on a quiz show recently. Top 3 days for pizza delivery. #1 is the Super Bowl. #2 is New Year's Eve, and #3 is Halloween. Just
oh wow!
Yeah, thought I'd throw that one back out.
That fits in perfectly with the Swan household trends as well. I think we go 3 for 3 on that one.
Yeah, and just getting some of the sentiment data from you, and to JJ and to your point, Andy, earlier is, well, I live in Chicago, so I probably wouldn't order from any of these pizza chains. But at the same time, when you look at this, 98% of the Domino's Pizza are franchised, right? So they put a lot of the inflation on the franchisees. If they're not raising prices and they're not going to get squeezed, is that a bonus for Domino's because of the fact that they don't have to absorb a lot of it, but the franchisees do?
Yeah, but there's only so long that can work. I think eventually it comes down to kind of 3 things. You either have to raise your prices, you have to accept lower profit margins, or you have to reduce the quality of your ingredients. And I don't know which way these companies will go. We saw Little Caesars raise their prices. I expect that's the way each of these will go, but they'll probably try to outlast each other. So it'll be very interesting. Over the next few months, we'll continue to bring data back to Fast Market. You guys are always our primary source to get this out, and we'll take a look at how these consumer trends change as price increases start to hit the market, or as portion sizes or quality of ingredients start to change, because that's always the X factor, and a way for companies to kind of absorb that cost without necessarily making it extremely visible to the consumer.
All right, great stuff. As always, Andy, we'll go ahead and take that data and use it for an example trade moving forward. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
See you, Andy.
Thanks, you too.
All right, that's Andy Swan, the co-founder at LikeFolio.com.